Hey guys, how you doing today? Hakobo here, and today I'm excited to bring you a sound from a previous video, my Dark Space video. There was a song in there, and someone requested how to create one of the sounds, so I worked around on it and created something kind of cool, and this is what it sounds like. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to be using one of my favorite wavetables, and it is the FM Freak. And the reason I like this one so much is because this low end right here just kind of has a cool timbre to it when you use the left half of the wavetable position. Now this patch kind of has a couple interesting things going on in it, and let's go ahead and just make two LFOs real quick just to get them out of the way. I'm going to hold Alt and bring the dot down to the middle, and then go ahead and curve this up like this and put it on 1/8 and trigger. Now the reason that I am not using any of this space right here is I'm going to exaggerate the LFOs, the modulation on the knobs later, and that will allow me to create some really cool sounds off of this default patch when we start to venture into more modulation and getting some effects on. So let's go ahead and make our second LFO, which is to just bring this over here, and I'm holding Alt while doing all of this, or maybe Option if you're using a Mac, and that keeps it all on the grid. And then I'm going to start just putting on some random stuff here, like I'm going to bring the wavetable position up to about 37, 36 is fine. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the level. And we're actually only using one oscillator today, which is going to leave us a lot of room for FM warping later. We're going to be putting on our filter next, and what the filter is going to be doing is create kind of some cool growl frequencies out of it that are kind of subtle until after we put the distortion and compression on. And you have some good options to do this. In the multi-tab, you have a high pass that is combined with a peak, and you also have a high pass that's combined with a notch, but today we're going to be using the peak. And we're going to be doing a little different setup for our filter than usual, and this might not be the most efficient way to go about it, but just playing around, this is kind of what I came up with. And what I mean by that is I'm actually putting two LFOs on the cutoff today. The cutoff is on 180 hertz, and the resonance is on about 50, and I'm going to go ahead and put two back to side to side modulations on it. And the first one's going to be set to 23, so just bring this one down to 23 and make sure it doesn't go reverse. Both of these are from the initial point that you put them. And this one's going to be 13. And this kind of isn't going to give us much of anything yet. You'll see later. And what we're going to do is, one, we're going to put our frequency up to 72. We're going to bring the little peak over here. That's part of the, the high pass and peak, and we're going to bring it back about 48. Now, something I also like to do with this patch is bring the mix down to 50%, and also throw an LFO going to the right about 45, because when we start to use the space right here, it's going to change up our sound a lot more. And then last but not least, to get some more volume out of this, I'm going to just increase the drive. And you have a lot of different options for increasing drive throughout each of your patches, which I'll show you later. So we have this right now, still not much. And before we leave this page, we're going to go ahead and just throw on a simple noise off, which is just going to flesh out the sound a little bit and flesh out the high end as we start to add compression. Now, there's kind of a cool setup I like to do with these low tones in order to get a really cool sound out of it. And that's throw on the hyperdimension, put re-trigger on, and then just bam, throw on. Usually I do it about halfway, but since this is already going only halfway, this is fine. And this just brings out some really cool resonances as the wobble moves. But you might not notice it a lot right now, but after we put on some tape saturation, increase this to 50, and then this can be anywhere from like let's say about 70. We start to get some really cool sound out of it. So this, without the hyperdimension, start to get a little bit more. Now we're gonna go ahead and tone it back a little bit by putting on what's called a static filter or static phaser. Now the static phaser just means you're turning down all the knobs except the phase, and the reason I leave the phase up is it allows you to move around the depth if you want to try and play around with the low end a little bit. But as right here, it just tones it back a little bit and makes it a little, not, I wouldn't say flatter, but it'll just sit better in your mix when you start putting it on top of other sounds. Now that we have this set up, we can throw a compressor on and see if it just gets us something real cool. I'm going to go ahead and increase the gain to about 13, turn the multiband on, and let's bring the volume down to about 50%. So that gets us a real cool sound. So it's here after you do all these 4 things that you can put a filter on and start to change around the sound and kind of get something different out of it. You can simply just put a low pass on it and turn the cut off down a little bit and just get a little bit more drive out of it, which is all we're going to do today. You can play around with band rejects, you put a comb on it, you can do all sorts of cool things. And the last thing that I'm going to do is actually take our LFO2 in the matrix and tie it to the global. And the reason I do this, and just turn it up like just a little bit, like 3. There we go. We didn't put this on trigger, my bad, and we didn't put this on 1/8, which is silly. There we go. We have our sound. Now all that's left to do is just put on a little bit of a, you could EQ it, but I want to put on some reverb, and let's go ahead and just put the width up. And that wraps up the foundation for the sound. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, go ahead and leave a comment as I read every single one of them. If you feel like liking or subscribing, know that it really helps me out and I very much appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.